3, 2,
We're already recording.
1. What?
Yes.
You're an asshole.
What's going on, guys?
Go ahead.
Welcome back, because Victoria doesn't want to intro it. Welcome back to Figuring It Out with my beautiful wife.
Are you saying my name?
No, I'll let you say it. You want to intro it.
Oh, my name is Victoria.
Thank you for introing that. And myself, David, because I know how to intro myself. What's going on, guys? We are back with another episode today. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about sacrifices and some of the things that we see. We get to talk to people on a regular basis about, their lives and things like that, and some of the sacrifices we've made. What?
David, you just went straight in. You're like, so today we're going to be talking about, hey, guys, welcome to Figuring It Out.
Are we supposed to, intro it, or what? What are we supposed to do?
You introed it.
Well, I want to talk about what we're going to be talking about.
Yes. This is Figuring It Out.
Okay, so give me your perfect fucking intro.
No, that's it. Now you could go ahead and
No. I want to hear. I want the people to hear your intro.
What's up, guys? Welcome back with myself, Victoria.
Oh, you knew how to say your name. Let's go.
Okay, continue.
No, go for it. Intro.
So, back with Figuring It Out. If you didn't catch our first... See, now you're making me hella nervous. If you didn't catch our first episode, we introed it as like a coming back because we took a long hiatus, personal hiatus, because we were busy.
We just had a resurrection over the weekend, like Easter.
Stop.
Yeah, we're coming back.
You're an ass. So either way, we wanted to dive back into some of the topics that we said we would dive back into in the intro episode. But one of those specifically, like David mentioned, is sacrifices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was a beautiful intro.
Thank you.
How about from here on out, you intro everything?
No.
So we're going to talk about sacrifices today. I know that I don't remember what we briefly touched on in the first video on what sacrifices we have made, things like that. But I think we don't want to just say, hey, this is what we do, this and that. I think we want to give maybe some examples of things we've talked to people about. Some of the things that people have brought up to our attention in terms of what their wants are and how we can relate to those in our life and in some of the sacrifices. Because I think people underestimate greatly. And we've only gotten, 6 years into business so far, and we've had, a decent amount of growth. But I know that we've definitely underestimated the sacrifice. And I shouldn't say we continually underestimate it because we get it now. So for us, it's kind of a normal thing. But we want to talk a little bit about some of the sacrifices that we've made, some things that we've had to do, and then compare those to some of the wants and needs of other people when they also relay that they want to get somewhere in life.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is that, again, not everybody's going to make the same, I would say the same amount of sacrifices that we have made, the same lengths of sacrifices we've made, because everybody
makes... That's
a
great point. That's a really good point.
Yeah, everybody makes different sacrifices, like you said, depending on what it is that they want to achieve, what their goal is. And again, everybody has different goals, so you need to make different sacrifices, right? And it's all different based off of current lifestyle, what it comes into the picture. Obviously, we have 2 kids now. So there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to sacrifices. But I guess we could just dive into beginning off where maybe some of the things that we've heard people talk about, like goals and everything, and kind of what made us realize that sacrifice had to get done. Or
yeah, I think we can start there. So I know that you and I know you didn't listen to podcasts as much as I did when we were in late high school and college and stuff, but listening to Andy and other people, we kind of already knew that there was going to be sacrifices made. And I think that definitely was something that occurred very quickly when we were starting to build out of our very first location of okay, our life is definitely going to have to take a little bit more of a back seat in terms of going out and the things that we get to do compared to most people. And that's why I really think the great touch on is what you had said of depending on what you want in life, that's going to kind of determine the amount of sacrifice that you're going to have to make. But I still think that there's a baseline amount of sacrifice that people are completely skipping over nowadays, especially our generation, to quote unquote, we only live once, or, all those things. And I think they're completely skipping over the entire baseline of hey, you sacrifice now, you get freedom later, you know? And I think that there's 2 routes that you can go down. So I guess we can just start here and just say, let's just give a preface of sacrifice in general, and then kind of what the different options are. And then from there we can pull examples. So I don't know. For me, this is how I see it. You could see it differently than I do, but I see it as like there's two sacrifices you can make. You could sacrifice early now, and when I say early now, I'm putting ourselves in the shoes because we're in our 20s. But you sacrifice earlier in life. Let's just say the first part of your career, or I should say career of your productivity life. Life expectancy, and then you get to enjoy more freedom later, or the vice versa, is that you get to enjoy the youth a little bit more, and then because of that, you have to usually work a lot harder and a lot longer later in life.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know if you see it the same way, but that's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, it's like what people say, what is it? It's basically just to simplify what you said. You work hard now, you play later, you play now, and you work later. It also determines when people want to retire and how they want to when they want to start traveling and stuff. People think they can start traveling in their 30s if they didn't really work that much in their 20s.
Yeah, 100%. Delayed gratification, that's what you're looking for, I think.
Exactly. So it's all just circumstantial of how people want to live, and I think we made the decision early on that we'd rather just work our asses off now, and then that way when it's time for when boys get older, like let's just say they're 10, 15, 20 years old, we'll be able to freaking do life with them.
Yeah. And I think to piggyback on that, I think that the quote unquote sacrifice you mentioned of like sacrifice now, and I don't want to overuse that word, so let's just say work hard now and play later. I think people downplay the amount of time and the actual amount of sacrifice that you do have to make to be able to get that play later. Is that I think that there's too much of I'm going to sacrifice for the next month, the next 2 weeks, and then automatically I get rewarded for that by going on a vacation or doing whatever. And I think that it's way more than that. And I think people grossly underestimate the amount of sacrifice that it takes to at least have a conceptual vision of what you want to be reality for you. We could say that firsthand because, obviously, I don't want to toot our own horns because anything could change at any instant. But at least to where we've gotten is statistically wise in the top percent of people our age. And yet we still are making 10x more sacrifice than what most people think.
Right.
And I think that there's always more that can be done. This is something that's like a moving target, something that is actually like, you're never, ever on point with this. But I definitely want to piggyback on the fact that to play later, sacrificing now is way fucking worse than what people think it's going to be. Like, whatever you're at right now, multiply that sacrifice by 10, and maybe that might be enough to get you where you want to go. And then also expand your time horizon another fucking 15 to 30% longer than what you think.
Right.
And it might set you up for that. But right, we're basing ourselves on guarantees, not mights. So it's one of those like we will sacrifice as long as possible to get to where we want to go. Yeah. So I don't know if you want to play on that and transition that into anything else.
No, I think that's a good point because it's also to add on that is that just because you make one sacrifice or one, you get rid of or let go. I don't want to keep using the word sacrifice. It just works out very well.
Yeah.
Just because you did that one thing doesn't mean you can't sacrifice again. In regards to you'll have to make multiple to still get to that one goal. So it's not one goal means one sacrifice. One goal could mean you need to make 3 sacrifices and they're not all going to come at the same time. They're going to come at different times.
I didn't even think about that. That's like a whole nother. I didn't even think. Yeah. So what you're basically saying is hey, yeah, let's okay. We can kind of jump into at least where we're coming from, and then we can get into examples.
Yeah.
That's a great point, and I think that's probably how we can play into this. So for example, our goal at home, we have our vision boards, right? And we already have the home picked out that we want to buy. We've watched plenty of videos on the home and exactly the address where we want, exactly we know the property. We know exactly what it is. We know how much it just sold for. We've been watching it for the last 2 years on the market. We know exactly what cars we want. We know everything, right? We pinpointed exactly what we want. And so to get to that goal, it's not okay, well, I'm going to sell my car now to get that lifestyle later. That's one sacrifice to get to that goal.
Right.
But it's a compounding effect of over time and sacrifice is not so much always a monetary value. Sacrifice most of our sacrifice, I would say, comes from a time.
Yeah.
It comes from a time perspective of we are giving up our time to learn skills, to bring more income, to do these things, free time, downtime, kid time, just time in general. We're giving up that as a sacrifice. We're literally paying our dues with our time, and that is allowing us to move the needle closer to where we want to go to. And so it's not just like, I'm going to sell my car, or I'm going to sell my house, or I'm going to, try to pay off my debt, so I'm not paying interest into things I shouldn't be. It's not. It's all of those combined. It's not usually not just a one thing. And so I think that's where we see a lot of people. They are misaligned with the actual amount of sacrifice it takes. Is that we see people make one small sacrifice and then usually they give up right away. Or not give up, but they go easy on themselves. When in reality, it's like, no, the actual amount of sacrifice it's going to take is a fucking 100x of what you think it is.
Right.
So I think that's kind of what you were trying to say, but not what you were trying to say, but that was the point you were making.
No, exactly, because it's like you're not just going to, like, a lot of people will, like, okay, let's just put into perspective, like, diet, right? Like, in trying to get fit, okay, people will sacrifice the chips, but they're not going to sacrifice the soda. Okay, well, you have to sacrifice multiple things in order to get to where you want to go.
Or what they'll do is they'll sacrifice some food, but they won't sacrifice their time to be in the gym longer to get the output out.
Correct.
So they'll forget about the time aspect, and it's just the food aspect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not, like you said, it's not just like a monetary or financial sacrifice that has to get made sometimes. That has to do with time. It has to do with physical, mental sacrifice. It's a lot.
And what I see as a coach, and you know this just being like in the gym with us, is the amount of, I think this goes to play again in terms of how much sacrifice actually needs to be made, is how many people think that, okay, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, right? Or I'm going to lose, if I can get down, let's say you're at 220, and you're like, I need to get to 200 because 200 I'm going to be fucking shredded, right? And as a coach, I'm like, 20 pounds is amazing, but you're going to be another 25 to 30 pounds away from quote unquote shredded. And so what people think is the sacrifice they have to make to get to 200 is not the actual sacrifice what they need to make to get to shredded.
Yeah.
So like they get down there and then they realize like, holy fuck, this is way harder than what I fucking had planned for myself. The amount of time, dedication, effort, consistency, strictness is like way harder than what I thought.
Yeah.
So a lot of our times I think our sacrifices and our goals are misaligned with the actual work that it's going to take to get there.
Yeah.
So does that make sense? I think that's something we see really, really often here at our facility.
Yeah. So now to put an example to it, I think what we could do is just kind of like dive into, because you mentioned briefly like our goals of like, okay, we already have our house that we like want to get. We already have the cars we want to get.
Yeah.
And so part of that, and kind of like I say, the wrench in the goals that kind of came at us out of nowhere was our Camarillo location.
Yeah.
And that being the bigger picture of the goal of opening multiple locations of the gym a lot faster than what we were expecting.
Yes.
Not wanting, expecting. And the sacrifices that needed to be made basically immediately because things happen so fast.
So this is perfect. So what she's saying, to put like to give like actual real outlook on what actually happens is we say, okay, we want X lifestyle. So let's just say this X lifestyle that's going to get us the house we want and the cars we want, the lifestyle we want. We know that we're going to have to make, it probably somewhere in the ballpark of probably $3 to $5 million a year to get here. That's net. So we need to be netting $3 to $5 million in our pocket to be able to sustain this lifestyle that we want comfortably. Not like when we think about like where we want to get to, we don't want like 3 to 5 million to get us by. It's more like, hey, 3 to 5 million is way more than what we need, but that way we have a huge amount of savings and still get to live the lifestyle that we want, right? So let's just say 3 million. In order to get to 3 million, and these are not things that I can just tell you right off the books. We have them all lined out, but I don't have them in my head. But let's just say to get to 3 million, we need, let's say, 20 locations, right? So 20 locations is going to get us a 3 million net. Whatever that net profit is.
Mm-hmm.
And so in order to get that 3 million in our pocket, we need 20 locations. And then you just reverse engineer. How am I going to get to 20 locations? And how am I going to get them profitable? If they're this much square feet for this much price per whatever it is, how many members do we need? So we have that all laid out. And so now it's like, okay, how the fuck do we get to 20 locations, profitable 20 locations as quick as possible to be able to get to that, right? And I'm skipping a lot of things in between.
Yeah.
Business owner things. But for most people, you could take whatever goal you have in life. You could probably take this blueprint and re-engineer it. Pick how much money you're going to need to make a year. and then reverse engineer what you're going to have to do to get there. And so when we had a second location that popped up way quicker than what we had thought we were going to do, it was like, holy fuck. Well, first off, we just know just from all of our business owners, from Andy, from Ed, from these people, is that the second location out of everything you ever do as a business is always the hardest, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 20 locations after is easier. The first to opening 2 separate locations is the hardest stepping stone, which Victoria and I have been kind of mentally preparing ourselves for. And so it's like, holy shit, this opportunity that landed in our lap is literally going to light speed us past the goal that we thought. We we're thinking like 3 or 4 years down the line, we'd be looking for a second location. And we're talking about from we opened a brand new location to like 6 months later, we're signing a deal for a second location. Okay. These there are going to be certain opportunities. And I know we've talked to really good friends about this, is that you only get probably 2 to 4 of these opportunities ever in your life, where something is a life-changing opportunity, and most people know that there's going to be sacrifice involved, and usually they don't want to take that sacrifice because it's scary to get to that opportunity, but that opportunity might be the thing that catapults you to that, 10 location, the 15, 20 locations.
Right.
Excuse me. So what Victoria was saying is basically like, hey, we have this opportunity in front of us, and we have to say yes to it. We didn't really look at anything else in our lives, but we just knew that this opportunity was going to get us to where we needed to go. So we said yes to it. Cool. Now we have to rearrange our life to be able to make that opportunity work.
Yes.
So imagine if someone says, hey, you're getting paid $15 an hour at your job, and then a company calls you up and says, yo, Joe, I heard that you have the skills that we need. I can pay you $85 an hour for this job, but it's an hour away. You're going to have to move. Okay, but you know that this is a stepping stone into where, because dude, after you make $85 an hour, you're probably going to make $100 an hour, $200 an hour, whatever it is, so on and so forth. Are you willing to make that sacrifice? Are you saying no to the opportunity or yes to the opportunity? You have to make that sacrifice if you want to get there. And so I think most people are afraid to make that sacrifice, even though they know it's the right opportunity. It's a once in a lifetime or, 2 in a lifetime opportunity to make that. You have to say yes, and then I think you have to change your life around to make that opportunity work, that sacrifice.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I know it was long-winded.
No, for sure. Basically, like, the opportunity arose. And so we knew we couldn't pass it up because we felt like it was one of those where it was like, if we don't do this now, like, who knows when we're ever going to get the chance or this is going to be available to happen again. And so it was a lot of, yes, we'll do it. And now we just got to figure it out. Like, literally it's our life figuring things out, along the way. There's no blueprint to like, should we say yes? Should we say no? No, like, yes, we're taking the chance and we're going to figure it out and we're going to see what happens from there on forward.
Yeah, that's what we had to do. So before we jump into like the actual sacrifice we made, let's talk about some examples of some people, not people like specifically, but some of the things that we hear quite often, we see, right? So we're 26 years old. And so we, generally our customers, 90% of our customers are under 32 years old. I think that's our statistic, 18 to 32. And so because we're around younger individuals, we usually see people who are in the same kind of areas of life in terms of, what we see a lot is this. We see between 20 to 25 years old, and we see people driving a car that costs them somewhere between $600 to $1,000 a month. And we see them usually with some sort of credit card debt. And I'm not making assumptions here. We're talking based on people that Victoria work with, people that we know as friends who are willing to, at least give us the opportunity to help them in some ways.
Stories that we hear, like people financing their Coachella tickets.
Dude, 60% of Coachella tickets were fucking pay later
I hope
finance.
that was none of you guys because that's fucking crazy.
If you are financing a fucking Coachella ticket,
you need to
reevaluate your fucking life.
Come talk to me.
Come talk to Victoria so you can afford a fucking Coachella ticket, okay? Now again,
back to your
this is coming from our perspective, right? So like for us, that's a really retarded decision. Like that is something, when we went to Bad Bunny, we had free tickets.
Shout out to
the boys Kane and KK because they really hooked us up on there. And that was a once time I would do that any day again because I fucking love them. That was awesome. So, right, the opportunity was there. The Amex card points paid for our hotel, paid for almost all of our food, paid for our travel. So I think we spent like $100 going down to San Diego for like a 4-day weekend, right? And same thing we're doing in Seattle. Amex is paying for all the hotels, for everything, blah, 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 blah. But Victoria and I will not pay out of pocket for those things because we're not in the opportunity, we're not in the space right now to be able to afford those things. Do we want to do those things? Yes. If we could say yes to going to music festivals and saying yes to go doing those things, would we do it? Why wouldn't you do it? But the thing is that we are not in the financial position with where we want to get to be able to spend money and time on those
Yeah.
things if they're not getting us to where we want to go.
Yep.
And so I think a lot of the sacrifice has to come down to impulse control. Is that you have to be able to fucking control your impulses and be like, yeah, I probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't get that $1,000 car payment. You probably shouldn't be using Afterpay on some $50 clothes. You
Yeah,
probably
amen to
shouldn't,
that one, dog. Fuck. I see that
you
all
know,
the time.
pay $12 each week for 4 weeks. Like, no, just don't fucking buy it. Go to the thrift store, you'll buy the same shit. Like,
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I know. We were doing laundry last night, and I'm like, damn, this is some like nice dress clothes. Where'd you get this stuff at? Thinking like, fuck, how much did this cost? And she's like, oh, that was like $2 at the thrift store. I'm like, all right, cool, fuck yeah,
Yes,
we're on the
guys.
same page here. Fuck yeah. But these are the things that. Right, so Victoria sees this more often. So I want her to talk a little bit about, obviously without names because it's financial
Right.
information, but talk a little bit about some of the things you see as someone who helps people with their finances and with debt, and just some of the things you see.
I think the biggest thing is, and it's all lifestyle, and this isn't ragging on anybody's lifestyle if they're still living at home with parents or anything, but I think the biggest thing is when people have the opportunity to stay at home, live with parents, rent free or at low minimal rent, they'll use the extra income that they have and spend it on items that they probably don't even need. And then when it comes time to look at savings and stuff, their savings is like zero. And everybody thinks that having a credit card means you have extra money, and they just end up maxing it out and they have no savings. And then their car payment's expensive. And then they're just in this revolving cycle of debt and not saving, and they're just comfortable and they stay with their parents and they just know things are going to get paid for, and they're just in this rat race.
Hmm.
And I think the biggest thing is, again, not to bag or bash on anybody who likes this style. I mean, if you're comfortable with it, this works for you, like, cool, like,
If
that's
you
your
don't
life.
want anything better for, like, if you enjoy doing what you and you
Mhm.
plan on living with your parents forever, like
If it works
comes
for
down,
you.
yeah, it comes down to what you want, and if
Right.
that's what you want, it is what it is.
Right. And so that's not what we want, and that's not what works. So of course we're not gonna do that. But that's probably the biggest thing that I see. It's high credit card debt, no savings, very large expenses, monthly expenses is a big thing, and nobody realizes really how much they're spending a month.
Yeah.
And I think what really helped us, and just to kind of like pinpoint, is there was this exercise, and I don't know off the page off the top of my head, but there's this exercise in Tony Robbins' book, Money Master the Game,
Hmm.
that we did together. We sat down, and it's about reverse engineering.
I fucking love that book.
About reverse engineering the lifestyle that you want, and I'm actually able to help people do it too on like one of the tools that
Well,
I
you
have.
have a way better tool to do it now because we had to do it all by hand, and now you
Right.
have a computer one that takes fucking
Yeah.
maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, so if you guys need help doing that, I can do that.
Utilize that shit because it will open your eyes to your expenses.
And basically, you put, okay, this is how much I want to make a year. This is kind of like the monthly payments of the car that I want to have. And again, it's just reverse engineering. But I'll tell you right now, a lot of people that I meet with and do these numbers off the people that are like their actual numbers currently. A lot of people are what we call like they're in their negative red. And negative red means you're living beyond paycheck to paycheck. And basically, people that have to make sacrifices that they're probably not going to want to make, or they probably don't want to hear that they have to make, because it's going to be hard for them.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. I think that people underestimate how much money they actually make and how much they actually spend.
Yeah.
And what would you say is the big? Because for me, I feel like the biggest thing that I see younger people do that they could change is, one, their outside expenditures. And when I say outside expenditures, I mean like eating out, going places. But I think that the biggest thing I see for our age group, because we have a lot of people who live at home still. For me, I think it's auto. I think it's car.
Oh, for sure.
I think car payments are probably the worst things. Now, it's not wrong to have a car payment, but something within means is okay.
Right.
But how many guys drive a Tacoma, or they drive maybe a manual, let's just say Subaru, for example, like a WRX, like where it's like, okay, well, you're paying $800 insurance, you're paying like $1,000 a month to a car that does nothing for you.
Yeah.
And then I love cars, so I'm not gonna sit here and say like, yeah, but the car's fucking cool. The car is cool, bro. But if you want to get to a certain lifestyle where you have a Lamborghini, or you have a fucking fully loaded truck that's 120 grand, you can't get to that by being in the negative. Right. You have to somehow bring in more income and somehow have less expenditures if you want to get to that. And
Yeah.
so, and again, it comes down to like, dude, you maybe just don't need that in your 20s. Maybe in your 20s and 30s, you're rocking a fucking Camry, or maybe
Right.
you're like us. We don't have car payments, and luckily, obviously, with the truck and then with the Kia, they're pretty basic fucking cars. They're not like anything. I mean, mine's a 21-year-old truck, and yours is, it's just a basic Kia.
Right.
And so this is kind of where we're at right now, where we're not afraid to pull up somewhere and be like, yeah, we don't have a fucking GMC. Yeah, we don't have a fucking fully loaded Tahoe.
I think the biggest thing, and this is probably the best way I could probably put it because we're on this topic, is people are sacrificing their paychecks for cars when they should be sacrificing their cars to have a bigger paycheck.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, because right, it's a compounding effect, guys. Is as you save money, and you have more money, and you invest that money, hopefully, and when I say invest, I'm not saying day trading in crypto, those things. We don't do that. We're not experts in that. We invest in ourselves and our skills and our businesses. But if you don't have a business and you don't want to be a business owner, taking that money and putting it somewhere that at least working for you 8%, 10%, 12% of the year, and that compounds when you are 50 years old or whatever. I know it's so conceptually hard to think about when you're 55 and 60 and 65 years old, but guys, think about it like this. The longer that we live, I believe right now, for every year that we're alive in 2025, I think they're extending our life like a half to a 3/4 of a year.
Yeah.
So like living past 100 is going to be pretty fucking easy by the time that we're 60, 65, 70 years old.
Yeah.
Living to 100 is going to be a pretty fucking set standard.
Yeah, I think Ed Milet brought that up.
Yeah, Ed Milet, he's brought that up multiple times in our RTA calls and on his podcasts. And so like, guys, no more trying to just get to 65 so we can get retirement. No, guys, we're going to be living a lot longer. So we're going to be able to enjoy the fruits of life if we invest our money now, compared to our parents who like maybe get retirement for 5 to 10 years and then they die. We at least get to enjoy that a little bit longer. But that also means we have more time to be able to make money.
Right.
And so think about you driving a fucking super badass car when you're 50 or 55, rather than driving a okay car that you see a bunch of on the road right now. Like, who gives a fuck if you have a fully loaded Tacoma or if you have a fully loaded whatever the fuck it is? Like, no, bro, I want to be the motherfucker that's like has a 1 of 100 car when we're fucking 45, 50, 60 years old, where people are like, holy fuck, who is that guy? That's the type of car. Those are the cars that we like.
Right.
I think that's something that we enjoy. But people just aren't willing to make those sacrifices now. Like you said, they sacrifice the car for the paycheck and not the paycheck, for the car. Yeah, or no, vice versa.
Yeah.
So I think that's a huge thing that I see.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah. So that's one example that I would see. We can just go off like the next like 2 big examples or 3 big examples that we see. So the first one is auto. And the second one I would say has to do more with experience. So the experience that you want younger, earlier in life. So Victoria brought this up, which I think is a great point, which is what's your goal in life? If your goal is to have a 9 to 5, which you could still make good money in a 9 to 5. There's plenty of jobs you can make a really good living. And so if your goal is to live a 9 to 5, you don't want to be a business owner, right? We can't speak to everybody because not everyone's going to be business owners. You might be able to sacrifice a little bit more opportunity to go do things earlier in life. But I would still say we're talking about like 50 to 75% less than what the average person is doing right now. So I think social media has taken a fucking stronghold on our throats on what we expect society to think of us. And that's why I think people are driven by FOMO more than they're driven by logical decisions on doing things.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah, keep going. You're doing good.
Okay. Well, I don't want to like just talk the entire time.
No, you're doing it.
But that's how I see it, is like the sacrifice that Victoria and I make. Like we took our last vacation was our honeymoon real vacation. Okay. In 2022 we went to see Bad Bunny. Or that was 2023.
For a weekend. Yeah.
For 1 weekend. We've gone to visit my dad for like a weekend.
Yeah.
Those type of things.
But like actual vacation?
Our last vacation was our honeymoon.
Yeah.
That we went on. And that was 2021 that was. So guys, I'm talking about like, it's been 4 years since we've taken a vacation. 4 years.
Yeah.
And our vacations we don't get to go to two weeks in Hawaii or 3 weeks, places. We're talking about like our vacations are like 4 days max.
Yeah.
If we go. Mainly because of me. But like, I know it is what it is. She's pointing at me. It's my fault. I definitely struggle to be able to go places. I struggle to enjoy because I'm very like, I want to get back to work, because I know that we only have a set time in our hourglass of
Yeah.
life. And so I know that the more that I can compound skills and money and work now, I know that like okay, going to fucking Hawaii for 5 days now is not going to be as fun as being able to live in a fucking $10 million home and have the cars and our sons get to enjoy the lives that they want, and that's way fucking better to me, and I'm willing to make the sacrifice to get there. Is that people cannot forward think of what 20 years down the line looks like. All they think about is like next week or next
Hmm.
month. They can't think about 25 years down the line or
Yeah.
45 years down the line. That's just kind of how I see it. So,
Yeah. I mean, I have nothing to add with that. I mean, yeah, I have nothing to add.
yeah, we take a vacation once every couple of years, maybe.
Yeah.
You know?
Because even recently, like you try to think, okay, well, actually, we did go to Hawaii when Arlo was like 3 or 4 months, but it was like, no, that was for business. Like, it's
That
not.
was a work trip. I mean, we
Yeah,
spent almost all day, and
trainings
that
and
was
stuff.
trainings. Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
I'm saying. So it literally is. It's like, yeah, yeah. I don't know what to add.
Yeah. So I would say that's the second biggest thing, guys. So the first one is auto. I think people can really adjust their expenses to that. We actually had a good friend of ours, and I remember this was the last gym, and she went out and she bought a Mercedes. You remember that? And she went out and bought a Mercedes, and she learned very quickly this car is cool, but holy fuck, I overextended myself. And remember,
Yes, I know
yes,
exactly who this is.
yeah. I mean, dude, her. Well, now they're not like boyfriend girlfriend
All right,
anymore.
don't give too much details.
I know, but they're amazing people, and she realized very quickly, like, holy shit, this is like
Mhm.
overextension of myself, and she realized very quickly, cool. So she went traded in, got a Honda. That right there, guys, those compounding decisions right there are what's going to make or break your financial dependency
Yep.
later in life.
Yeah.
Is those decisions right there. And so these are not these this isn't like pre-workout. You don't take it and get a feeling 30 minutes later of like, oh shit, this hit me. These are decisions that you're making now that will add up over 20, 30 years of your life. And then once you're there, you're going to look around at everybody and be like, holy shit, I'm way better off than most people
Mm-hmm.
because of the decisions you make earlier in life. So that's just what I see. So auto, that is there anything else that you could, that you could really think of? My camera just shut off.
It
Damn.
died.
I don't know if my camera died or what it was. I'm gonna check it real quick. You
Okay.
can continue.
Um,
The third thing.
you know the third thing? I didn't know the third thing. We said auto experience.
Yeah, I would say auto experience, and then I would say like going out, things like that, like enjoying short term hits of dopamine, basically.
Instant gratification.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of people like to go out for a weekend, have a good time and stuff because they want to be part of the in crowd. And I think part of what you were saying is in terms of social media, really makes it seem like this things you need to do to have a pretty profile and make it aesthetic, right? And they don't think about how that might affect them in the long term. We're not drinkers, but we see a lot of people going out drinking, and then what do? They instantly regret it. Yeah, they felt good at the moment because they went out and did these things, took pictures to show for it on social media. But the day after, it was like, fuck, I don't like this. Like, I don't know why I keep doing this, So it's one of those things where it's, I think it's that instant gratification a lot of people like to lean towards. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we all like it. We all like the feeling of something in our brain having that like satisfaction moment for even just a short period of time. But at the end of the day, if it's not something that's attributing or contributing to your goals, you're going to feel like shit because it's almost like the whole debt thing and the savings thing. You're just in this rat race of, I feel good, started the week off right, had this moment of instant gratification and going out and did this thing. And then on Sunday, they're like, fuck, I wasted my weekend. Like, and then they hate Monday because they have to do it all over again.
Yeah, I think that's probably thank you guys for dealing with my technical difficulties.
So did you say dealing with my wife?
No. Terrible. Terrible. Yeah, I would say this is the third thing we could talk about. I think this is something that probably our generation can relate to the most, because I think that the older generation, our parents, don't have as much of this FOMO that everybody else have in terms of like going out and short term gratification of things. So talking about purchasing shoes, purchasing clothes, purchasing alcohol when they're out, having fun with people or whatever. So I think that this is probably something that our generation struggles with the most, and where they can improve the most, because it's a negative feedback loop, right? So we're like it's the shortest quick of dopamine that you can get. It's you go do something, you go out, you get hammered, or you go have fun for 2 days or whatever, and then you always get left with the same empty feeling again on Monday. You still feel like shit. You still wish you wouldn't have done it. Your bank account's still super fucking empty,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, why the fuck did I do that? And what that feeling is that's you getting farther from your goals,
Yep.
but more importantly, that's you knowing deep down in your conscious, what am I doing?
Yep.
That is literally the feedback from your own body saying, why the fuck are you doing this?
Yeah.
Like, you know damn well that you shouldn't be doing it.
That's why you feel guilty, and that's why you feel like shit.
Literally,
It's
exactly
like when
why.
you're on a diet and you go have a cheat meal after just starting your diet, and you're like, fuck, that wasn't worth it. Like, and you feel like crap. Like, you literally feel like crap because you know you probably shouldn't be doing that because it's not aligning with your goals.
Yeah.
But we do it anyway because it instantly gratifies the little neurons in our brain.
Yeah. I'm not a fucking neuroscientist, so I couldn't tell
Me
you what
either.
that is. Yeah. I got squirrel brain up in here, dude. All I do is drink white monster. Well, actually, I'm not drinking a white monster right now. I'm having a C-bum. I'll have my white monster later.
Yeah.
I think lastly, it's 35 minutes, which is kind of around towards the end of each podcast. We can go a little bit longer today, but now I just want to talk a little bit about some of the sacrifice that we're made for the lifestyle that we want.
Yeah.
Right. So we're a little bit different. So when you guys hear the seriousness and the sacrifices that we make on a daily basis, the things that we do, just remember that if you decide to be a business owner, your sacrifices in life and the things that you're going to have to do is going to be dramatically more than the normal person. So one of the hardest things you could do is have a spouse who is misunderstanding of what it means to be a business owner, and having a friend group that's misunderstanding of what it means to be a business owner. Because to be a business owner, it is the most competitive game in the fucking world. We've learned that very, very quickly. It's also the only game and job that does not turn off. It does not turn off. You go home and your phone's on and you're getting emails and you're getting messages. And Andy talks about this a lot more now. This is something that really, really kind of hit me a couple years ago, is that business 20 years ago, when you shut off your lights at your store, people couldn't contact you, couldn't email you, couldn't call you, couldn't get a hold of you, couldn't text you. It's different now. Dude, my fucking my camera keeps turning off for some reason. Oh, the heat looks like it's too high on the camera, which is kind of odd. It's all good. I'm not even gonna worry about it. We could just jump into it. It's fine. So one of the things that I think that people struggle with the most is when they want to open a business, or their ideas of what a business owner is it's way harder than what you think, and so it never turns off. There's always something to be done, always something like that, to do, and so. To get back to what we were saying is, as a business owner, the sacrifices that we have to make are a lot more drastic than what a normal person does.
Right.
So basing your life off of the sacrifices that we're making is different. Everyone has to make a different sacrifice for what they want to get to.
Yeah.
So when we signed and we decided that we were going to do a second location, the reality set in of, okay, we're going to have to make some pretty drastic changes to our life to be able to not so much guarantee success, because we could have made it work. I really think we could have made it work, but we had to put ourselves in the absolute best position possible to ensure the success of the second location.
Yeah. And I think really quick, just to touch back based on like making sure you have a spouse that's like understands not only just a business owner. I think the biggest thing is even if you're not married or you're engaged or you have a girlfriend or any significant other, this is why communication and clear goal communication and just talking about stuff is so important, because had we had not been on the same page, this probably wouldn't have happened. This decision would have been a lot harder. It would have probably gotten fucking chaotic.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Definitely. I know it's kind of weird because obviously I'm talking, there's no camera,
Right.
but it's all good. And so having that understanding is, I remember calling you and being like, hey, what I think would really, really put us in the best position possible is I think we should move out of our house and I think we should rent our home and move back in with my mom because, and obviously we're very lucky, as a lot of people are, that my mom was supportive enough to be like, hey, I'll let you move back in free of rent. Um, Not because of we fucked up in life and we were doing stupid shit and it's like, oh my god, I lost my home or blah 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 blah. She understands the path that we're on,
Mhm.
and so because of that she was like, you can move back in with me. Obviously it's support with the kids, and then your mom's support with the kids is also extremely helpful. And so we made the sacrifice of like, okay, well, we're just gonna cut everything, so we're literally gonna go enough money to buy food, enough money to buy supplies for the kids, and then maybe enough money for small expenditures throughout the month.
Yeah.
So
While
insurance,
still saving.
yeah,
Like,
while still trying to save. And so I bumped up my coaching business, and so that way at least we have a little bit more income coming in there. But we completely almost cut out all of our income from our business.
mhm.
So our business, like, we get paid less than like 50% of what our team gets paid. Like each one of them
I was
individually.
gonna say, yeah.
Each one of them individually. Yeah, like we get paid half of what Chris gets paid, basically. So we are living on very, very little to be able to move ourselves forward. And what's important is that when you make these sacrifices, like what Victoria was saying earlier, is that if you have these opportunities, are you taking that opportunity to take that money and go buy a car, go buy a Tacoma, go buy whatever? I keep using that car for example, but any car really. And so, or are you gonna go spend that, or are you gonna take that money and you're gonna reinvest it back into what we're gonna do? So that's what we're
Right.
doing. Is we said, okay, let's cut all of our money from our house and from utilities and from rent and from from our mortgage, and let's reinvest that back into the business. And so that's what we're doing, is we're saving all of that extra income and putting that back into the build out of the new facility, just to ensure that when that facility starts up, we have that extra income to put towards that.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the big sacrifices. That was the biggest sacrifice we made, and that's if you want to dive a little bit into how that's played out.
Yeah. So I mean, so like he started off with he gave me the phone call, and he already semi kind of talked to his mom about it, and we had talked about this prior to me having Atlas our second. We had talked about it, just like it just came up because it was like, hey, we're gonna have to do what we have to do. Like, it is what it is. But then it was that was like over 9 months ago. Like, we didn't think it was gonna happen this fast
Well,
again.
that
Everything.
that just happened to, like, hey, if we did this, it'd be kind of cool, save the money. But it wasn't like
Yeah.
we didn't have a second location in mind, so
Correct.
it wasn't.
So when it came up again, it was like, oh crap. Like, we had the conversation briefly because we had talked about it a long time ago, but it was like, dang, this is actually gonna happen. And granted, we're like, we had it. Did we have the conversation? What, March? No, right before I had Atlas.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks before. No, 3 weeks before you had Atlas.
3 weeks before I had Atlas, and it was hard because obviously, I mean, just I guess perspective of like my side, it was hard because I was just about like settling in, nesting, getting everything ready. We had just completed a whole year of having Arlo in our house,
Set
and
up the
all
new
of us
cribs.
set up a crib. Like, literally, like everything in our house was set up and ready to go for our second. And we did like a full year of like seasons and holidays, like in our home, like established this lifestyle. And before we had Atlas, that's when he called me, and it was like, oh fuck, like, because I wasn't expecting. And of course, you're hormonal and emotional and all these things, and you don't want to leave your home. But back to what he was saying about like going back and understanding what our goal was as a couple, and just the type of lifestyle we wanted to live, and what needed to happen to get us there. It was like, okay, well, it sucks, but we have to do what we have to do. Um, and I still get emotional talking about it.
I mean, how could you not?
So we did, and hold on, let me catch my bearings. Damn.
I mean, it's an emotional thing moving out of your home, especially when you purchase a home and that's something that you really look forward to your entire life. It's kind of the American dream. And so the camera's just on you right now.
I know. So either way, so we decided, okay, we'll wait till like maybe like a month after.
Yeah, we said let Atlas get like at least a
Right.
month old before we just start, fucking around.
Yeah, because I didn't want to move and be like 9, almost like 10 months pregnant. Didn't want to move right away. And so we're like, okay, we'll settle in for like 4 weeks, try to get some type of routine with him. And then April 1st, we'll move out. We have to find a renter. And it kind of just worked out in such a way where it was like, I don't want to say meant to happen, but it worked out where we were luckily and super super cool. We were able to rent out our house to my mom and my brothers, which worked out super well. And we ended up being back with your mom.
Yeah. So I mean that was, I would say that that's a big sacrifice that I don't think most people would be willing to make. You know, you work so hard, especially as a business owner, because you put everything on the line. You work so hard to purchase your first home, and then for you to only live in it in a year and a half. You know, not even two. It wasn't even 2 full years, like a year and
Yeah.
3 quarters, and you turn around and you move out. You know, and it's not like you move out to a bigger home. You move back
Right.
in with your, you know, with your mom.
Right.
And so it's something that, you know, most people would be like, well, that's embarrassing. Yeah, it's like, well, you know what's more embarrassing is fucking failing, and I'll do
Right.
whatever, and not we will do whatever it takes to get to where we want to go.
Yeah.
So
And I think that's probably like the other thing, and it relates to this topic because, and it goes back to what we were talking about, was wasn't just that one sacrifice. So we made a lot of sacrifices to purchase our home because we wanted to have a certain lifestyle and get to where we wanted to go.
yeah,
And then here we are having to make sacrifices of everything we just sacrificed for to
Yes.
get our home. We ended up sacrificing the home and to get still to where we want to go. So it didn't stop at just purchasing a home. It went beyond that.
well, it's as simple as, are you willing to make the adjustments needed to have the lifestyle you want?
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. If you want to own a business and you're afraid to put yourself on social media, you're afraid to go out and learn new skills, you're afraid to follow up with customers,
Yeah.
you're going to fucking fail. And same thing in life. If you're not willing to drive a fucking shitty car for a little while,
Yeah.
if you're afraid to, you know, who gives a fuck what people think about you? Like, I don't give a fuck when someone says, you know, or if someone thinks, because no one says, if someone thinks of us differently because we moved back in with my mom, motherfucker, check on me in fucking 15 years. How about how about we write each other's names down and our phone numbers, and we'll fucking call each other in 15 years and see where the fuck we're at.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's where it comes down to is, you know, is most people are not willing to make the decisions and the adjustments they need because they're afraid to put themselves out there. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and to make the needed adjustments. Let's be honest here. Almost all of us, deep down, know the sacrifices that we have to make to get to where we want.
Yeah.
You think someone who's fucking 100 pounds overweight doesn't sit at home and say, fuck, I really should, you know, move more and eat less? No, of course they fucking know that. They know that. But it's, are you willing to go out and look like a sweaty motherfucker at the gym,
Yeah.
you know, or whatever, to get to those goals?
Mhm.
Are you willing to say no to going out and eating with your friends every fucking weekend to sacrifice to lose that weight? Same thing in business. You know, same thing in life. You know, are you willing to start saying no to your significant other, to your best friends, to your friends group? Hey, I can't make this trip for the next year. I'm on pause for all of our things. Are you willing to make those sacrifices? Because if you're not, well, then just be okay with the lifestyle you're going to have that comes after that.
Right.
I mean, it's as simple as that, honestly. I get
Yeah.
frustrated because it's like, we see it with so many fucking people, and it's like, dude, and again, we're making different sacrifices than most people. But if someone comes to us and says, oh, yeah, but I really don't want to do it. Motherfucker, like, you have no fucking clue what it's going to take to get to where you want to get to.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things where if you it's funny because if you were to come to David and tell him what you want in life, he's going to give it to you straight of what it is you need to do to get there. And if you just are comfortable, then he's going to be cool with you being comfortable. But again, it goes back to where he was saying about saying no to friends and saying no to certain experiences or events or parties or whatever on weekends and everything. But what am I trying to say? This is where a lot of people start feeling some type of way because they start outgrowing friend groups. And this is what gets very scary for people, but you just have to understand it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, it goes back to point number 3, which is like, you know, like the self-control, the quick hit of dopamine of like, okay, if are your friends really only around to be your friends, or are your friends around to see you grow? Because there's a difference.
Yeah.
You know, and if your friends naturally start to move away from you because you're growing, that's nothing against you or them, but that's just the natural propensity of life.
Yeah.
Is that you're gonna have to level up. You know, and it's different if your friends are not business owners, but they're doing everything in their power to be better at life. You're probably gonna still keep them around you because they're still trying to do better.
And they're going to, I don't want to say they try to be like you, but like attracts like, and if you're not surrounding yourself by people that you want to help influence your life or to get better, to do anything, you're going to stay in the same cycle.
Yeah.
And so if you're fine staying in the same cycle, well, you're going to find yourself distancing yourself from people who want to grow and do better because it's going to make you feel some type of way, possibly. But if you want to grow, you're going to start finding yourself wanting to listen to more podcasts, read more books, or try to figure
Yeah.
out what to do to get to where you want to go.
Well, let's be honest. To get to where you want to go, no one, writes down their goals and says, "I want to go to prison" or "I want to be broke." No one says that.
Yeah.
But you know what motherfuckers do say is, "I want to be successful. I want to drive a nice car, have a nice house." Well, guess what? That means you're gonna have more than likely a very boring period of your fucking life, because to get there, it's not fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's not fun to move out of our house. It's not fun to drive old cars, or whatever. Not old cars, but not flashy shit.
Yeah.
It's not fun to have to go to the thrift store or to whatever. We don't get to buy clothes all the time, or to whatever. Like, dude, the last pair of shoes that we bought 2 pairs of shoes a couple weekends ago. My mom bought me one of the pair of shoes, but the other pair of shoes, it's the first time we bought in shoes in like fucking 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, guys.
I bought some and then I returned them.
Yeah. Like, like the sacrifices you have to make in the beginning are so much harder than what you think they are.
Right.
So, but just remember this one thing. Nobody will give a fuck in 20 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, all of your friends, you're probably not going to fucking talk to unless they're good people. The family members who might be talking shit to you now are going to be in the exact same fucking place they're in while you moved ahead of them. So it's just like, dude, who gives a fuck? You're either going to make the sacrifice or you're not. It's that simple. I wish my camera was still on, but it's not. But it's all good.
It's okay.
Bitch ass camera.
I think, is there anything else you wanted to touch on that? I think that's probably like the biggest one. That's
No,
more.
that's it, yeah.
That's probably one of the more bigger recent sacrifices that we've had to make. I would say, I don't want to say up to date, but recent sacrifices we had to make.
It's
that
the
was
biggest.
pretty big. Yeah.
It's the biggest. And guess what? We've done it twice.
Yeah.
People don't know that. Is that when we opened the first House of Gains, the very, very first location in Wainimi, we lived with roommates. And when the roommates moved out, when they graduated and moved away, we couldn't afford that anymore.
Yeah.
We legit would have been broke if we would have stayed renting that home. So we moved back in with my mom again.
Yeah.
And like you said, that was a sacrifice to save money to be able to buy our home. Get our home, sacrifice again to get to the next level. There's always going to be multiple sacrifices you have to make to jump to each new level of life. So
Yeah.
you willing to make that fucking jump or not?
Yeah. And are you ready to close it?
You can
no?
close it because I ain't got no fucking camera. So
I think the biggest thing is that, and I'm not trying to like harp on anybody listening or watching.
nah, harp on. Who gives a fuck?
But clearly, if you are listening to our podcast, you are looking for something. You are looking and you are probably trying to get some sense of either validation or what should I be doing or what are they doing that I should be doing or, what's, trying to get a peek into our life because, again, you're trying to better yourself, which is probably why you're listening to this and not something, I don't know.
Stupid.
I can't say Grey's Anatomy because I watched that. But I think the biggest thing is just understanding and having an idea that, things are going to have to go away. Things, people, money, whatever is going to have to go away to get to where you want to go. And you're just going to have to figure it out and just see if that fits your lifestyle. And if it does, it does. And if it follows your goals, aligns with your goals, then you're going to have to do it. Plain and simple. Like, you're going to just have to do it. And there's no other way around it. Because if you don't, again, I don't know what that thing is because only you know your goals. But if you don't do it, you're not going to get where you want to go.
I mean, easy as that. Cool. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys. That was actually a really, really good episode. That's a longer episode than we normally do, but there was a lot in there.
Yeah.
And I think as we went along more into it, it got better and better.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you guys. As always, again, we're not experts in this field. Just to close this out, we're not experts in any field. We're barely 26 and 27. So, well, not 27 yet, but I'll be 27 next week. But we've had a decent amount of experience at least up to this point. We're still pipsqueaks in the game. But just so you guys know, when you come to us and see us and how we live and everyone says, "Oh my God, you guys have grown so much. You're doing so well." Just remember that like we are making sacrifices daily.
It hasn't always been rainbow and sunshines, guys.
It is. I mean, every day there's always going to be difficulties that come up.
Right.
Yeah. So like there's always going to be things that happen, but it comes down to the bottom line. Like Victoria said, are you willing to make the sacrifice or not? So very simple.
And as always, our messages, our DMs, and our comments and everything is open. So if you guys just need help, or I don't know, just again, we're not experts, but
give
if
us
you guys
some Q&A.
if you guys have a question about this or want us to dive deeper, just send us a message or anything.
How we tackle things.
We believe in transparency, so if we can help you in any sort of way, or again, just let us know.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Yeah, shoot us a comment, like, follow, whatever it is, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll catch you the next one.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Say peace. Peace.
Peace.
Because I can't. So say peace for me.
Peace for David.
Maybe we'll have a new camera.